You are peddling the same lie the serpent peddled in the garden. You are not God. So I thought I'd respond to this ridiculous comment, because if no one exposes the truth about this, people are just going to keep on believing the nonsense that the corporate religious industrial complex is pushing on people. So what you need to understand here is that the serpent, that character in biblical mythology, the serpent is also known as Prometheus. Prometheus is also known as Enki in Sumerian mythology. Prometheus is Greek mythology. Enki is Sumerian mythology. The serpent is biblical mythology, but they're all talking about the same guy. And when I say guy, I mean a human with more advanced DNA and more advanced technology than you. These more advanced humans are sometimes referred to as the Anunnaki. Sometimes they are referred to as the gods or the Elohim. Sometimes they're referred to as the sky gods because they had technology that some of you may refer to today as a UFO or a flying saucer. Okay, they were the ones that had that technology. They brought it here to the earth world. God in the Old Testament Bible is Yahweh. Yahweh is the same guy as Zeus from Greek mythology. Yahweh and Zeus is also the same guy as Enlil in Sumerian mythology. Enlil is Prometheus' brother. They are both of higher advanced DNA and had more advanced technology. They traveled around in UFOs. Zeus's brother, Enki, aka Prometheus, he was actually the master geneticist that, quote unquote, created mankind in God's image. And when it says that in Genesis, that mankind was created in God's image, that is a reference to an advanced technology called genetic engineering. They took some of their DNA and spliced it with a more primitive humanoid, like a Homo erectus or a hominid that was already walking around on the earth world, that was very, very primitive, more primitive than you are now. They gave it a little genetic upgrade, and that's you, the human Homo sapien species. They genetically engineered you to be a slave species originally. Yahweh, the sadistic god that the Christians worship, also known as Zeus, also known as Enlil, he wanted to keep humanity enslaved forever, indefinitely. And that's why he was always depopulating and trying to control them and doing plagues and encouraging war and all kinds of stuff like that. His brother, Enki, aka the serpent, he valued his genetic experiment much more than Enlil did. So even though they both, came together as a council, basically, to genetically engineer this slave species, there was always this rivalry between the two brothers, Enki and Enlil, Zeus and Prometheus, Yahweh and the serpent. It was a rivalry because Enki wanted to eventually see his genetic experiment evolve to a higher level of consciousness, where Enlil just wanted to keep them enslaved indefinitely. This is where we get the whole mythology of God versus Satan, because Satan is also referred to sometimes as the serpent. Again, these names that are thrown around there in all the mythologies, in most cases, they're talking about the same extraterrestrial, highly advanced human, aka God. But because they lived much longer, they have quasi-immortality. They lived thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they had regeneration chambers. And then they also some of them mess with adrenochrome and stuff like that, which extends their lifespan longer and keeps them looking young. But over the thousands of years, the language changed multiple times. So sometimes when you hear in these different mythologies, you hear these different names, but often the different names are referring to the same exact being. This is what they don't teach you in church. This is what they don't teach you in Bible camp. This is what the Christian corporate religious industrial complex does not teach you. This is what the Catholic corporate religious industrial complex does not teach you. And you go high up enough in these corporate industrial complexes to the people that are like billionaires and trillionaires. They know exactly what I'm talking about. They know all this. In the Vatican, they have an underground archive with all kinds of ancient manuscripts, cuneiform tablets, Hebrew manuscripts, all kinds of stuff describing all the genetic engineering, the advanced technology, the UFOs, books that were hidden and censored from the Bible that also talk about this, that they don't want you to know about. There's a really great translator who goes into really good detail on this because he translates Hebrew, and he used to work for the Vatican. His name is Mauro Biglino, and he's got a few different books out that you should read. In fact, one of them you can get the PDF for free. It's online. It's called The Book That Will Forever Change Our Ideas About the Bible, and he shows you what the Hebrew translations say, because in the Hebrew translations they're completely different than the English King James Bible, which is severely mistranslated. I also have reason to believe that he had access to other books and other ancient Hebrew writings, maybe even had access to the Vatican archives, because a lot of his translations are so in-depth about the genetic engineering that happened. That's like he had to be translating this from sources that are not out in the public for the everyday average person. But this, again, someone's got to come on the internet and explain this, because if I don't, people are going to keep believing in nonsense, dogmas and superstitions. It's all nonsense that most people believe in terms of like Mormonism, Catholicism, Christianity, Jehovah's Witness, all of it. Every single religion on this world comes from this story of the Anunnaki, the Elohim, the sky gods coming to earth from the heavens, which is just the sky because they had UFOs, and then doing genetic experiments and displaying advanced technology to primitive humans. When you display advanced technology to a race or a group of primitive humans and they don't understand the science and the physics behind your technology, they will think you are a god, and it is very easy to trick them into worshiping you. That is what happened here on the earth world, and that is what is still happening today with most of the human Homo sapiens, because most of the human Homo sapiens, for the most part, are not too intelligent. And it's easy to dupe them and trick them into believing shit like this.